Good morning, Metalheads Unit. Welcome to a new episode on the Metal Meltdown. And today we're looking at the latest album from Wormwitch entitled Heaven That Dwells Within. I have heard a lot about this album. I've gotten a couple recommendations to review this record, or at the very least to take a look at it, including from my regular anonymous music dealer, you know who you are. Also, lots of glowing reviews as well. One in particular from Angry Metal Guy was really intriguing to me. And finally, I learned that they were Canadian, and that was all I needed to seal the deal. You want to get me really interested in a record? Just say that it's fucking Canadian, because I just love supporting Canadian rock and metal music. It's really that simple for me. Wormwitch are so fucking Canadian that they even use it in their Facebook description, saying, medieval myth and magic from the Great White North. And in this past week, since it's been released, I spent a lot of time getting to know this album, getting to know all of its tricks, all of its secrets, getting deep inside those little curves. And with all that in mind, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, this is the best black metal album of the year so far. Like, this is fucking spectacular. And that is a big statement coming from me, because I, generally speaking, don't really like a lot of black metal. I'm a fan of the more experimental side of black metal when it comes to bands like Death Heaven and Mirror and all that shit, recent records from Behemoth as well. But I don't really give a shit about, like, the typical black metal sound. I don't give a shit about tremolo riffs. I don't give a shit about that caveman aesthetic. I don't care much for the politics and the circumstances for which this sound was birthed in. Like, the only band that I would call a straightforward black metal band that I actually listen to, like, regularly, is probably Watain. The rest of it, I could give less of a fuck about. I just don't care. So that should make it very clear to some of y'all that this is a damn fantastic record, and Wormwitch wastes no time proving it to you. Like, seriously, no time wasted. No fucking stupid corny intro, no dumb atmospheric interlude, no fucking whatever. They just throw some smoky riffs at you and some blast beats and some in-your-face vocals, and boom, suddenly you're strapped in and all ready for the ride. The classic black metal sound and aesthetic that people expect is immediately represented and noticed here, but far more modern and far more engaging, thanks to an incredible atmosphere that feels very cold and very icy, but it's still got a lot of rage behind it. It's also very smoky at the same time. Like a really weird and dynamic fucking pagan ritual happening right before your eyes. And that vibe carries throughout the rest of the album, remarkably without ever repeating itself or relying on black metal tropes and cliches. I didn't really notice a lot of tremolo riffing on this thing, and when I did, it was in very sparse moments. In fact, I would go as far as to say that musically, this is an incredibly dynamic record. There are a lot of big chunky riffs, there's a lot of guitar solos, a lot of rock and roll flavor, a lot of variety in the songwriting. Take, for instance, the song Dancing in the Ashes, which is also one of my favorite songs on the record, with its stunning, beautifully droll, gothic opening accompanied by subtle, rustic acoustic guitars and very simple, earthy chanting, quickly evolving and shape-shifting into a massive black and death metal monster, complete with some surprisingly groovy headbanging riffs, almost reminiscent of some of the more modern Behemoth stuff, I would say, without some of the overly artistic tendencies of the last two records. The same can be said for Two Wolves, a track that also brings in some flavors and spices from the worlds of Swedish death and thrash metal. Or a song like Iron Woman, which is a little bit more all over the place, but without feeling crazy, without feeling hectic and out of control. It opens on a massively heavy riff, like Gojira level heavy, and soon includes a lot of interesting, almost Cradle of Filth style spoken word pieces, alongside some very tranquil and dissonant and kind of spooky guitar tones and rhythm lines. And as it continues, it gets louder and it gets more violent, the drums start taking up the forefront of the sound, and it just becomes a straight up headbanging jam. And of course that final track, Alone Before the Doors of the Silent House, which feels like a great amalgamation of all the sounds that we've kind of talked about so far, but with some really soulful guitar playing backed onto it. Like, goddamn, I don't know if these guys watch the Metal Meltdown, but they've clearly been paying attention to all of the things I have said about black metal, because everything I don't like about black metal, they don't do on this record. Even in those very rare moments where they stick pretty close to the black metal template, they do it with such energy and such vigor that I don't really care. Take, for instance, one of the heaviest tracks on the album, Midnight Sun, which packs some absolutely massive, frantic, icy atmospheres and riffs alongside punishing, murky rhythm guitars. Man, I had fun with this record, and that's something really weird to say, that you had fun with a black metal album, but it's the fucking truth. It's got great riffs, it's got great big melodies, it's dynamic, it's engaging, it's spicy, it's got some really amazing performances, and it sounds awesome. It sounds modern without compromising the classic black metal aesthetic. The only thing preventing me from giving this a 4.5 out of 5 is the fact that while the first 5 songs are very fucking good, it's the stuff after, the stuff from Midnight Sun onwards, that really steals the show. If the entire album was more in line with those songs, this would be a 4.5 out of 5. But as it stands, it's still a 4 out of 5. And that's still higher than, frankly, what I would give most black metal albums. I don't really see why a longtime black metal fan would not enjoy this record. There's a lot of great ideas and a lot of great songs on this thing. Even if you're a super conservative, ultra old school black metal fan, there's enough of that classic black metal aesthetic to reel you in. And by the time you get through a lot of these songs, I don't think it'll bother you that this isn't exactly Mayhem or Burzum or whatever. For that matter, if you're new to black metal, this is a great record to check out because I think it shows a lot of the different aspects and layers of black metal. You know, it's not just tremolo riffing and fucking dudes in the woods going, Satan! Satan! No, there's actually musically stuff happening here. It's new and exciting, and if this were my first black metal album, I'd be over the fucking moon with this thing. I'm like this fucking close to buying the album on vinyl on Bandcamp, and the only thing holding me back is the fact that I gotta save my money, because in 2 days I'm gonna be in Philadelphia, and I'm gonna be buying a fuckload of shit. Like, I'm gonna be eating and drinking, and I'm gonna be at the Decibel Beer Metal Fest, so it's just gonna be a giant money-spending palooza, so I need to be careful. That is literally the only thing holding me back. And who knows, apparently Prosthetic Records is supposed to be at this event, so maybe I'll have a chance to pick it up there. And I hope that that's the case, because this is my favorite black metal album I've heard so far this year, and even though it didn't get that 4.5 out of 5, it's probably still one of the best albums I've heard so far this year. I can definitely see myself coming back to this plenty of times. So there you have it, 4 out of 5, Heaven That Dwells Within, Wormwitch, a fantastic, spicy, adventurous, and fresh new take on black metal. Check it out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.